windows open here. Good afternoon. This is Judge Alyssa Perez presiding over the 210th District Court criminal docket for April 26th, 2022. All matters being heard today are being heard in accordance with all. Hey, where's Roa? Let me make sure Roa's here. Yeah, okay, she was blacked out. With all the COVID protocols, and we're streaming all matters live via YouTube for public viewing. I'll go ahead and call this one. It's Crystal Destiny Reyes, right? Yes. Calling cause number 2021-020-0716. State of Texas versus Crystal Destiny Reyes. May I have announcement, please?
Roa King for the state of Texas.
Christopher Anchona on behalf of Ms. Reyes. We are ready on.
And Ms. Reyes is appearing from the downtown jail. We are scheduled for a bond hearing today. Mr. Anchona, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. So we previously have been here before on a bond hearing for Ms. Reyes. And I believe that was on March 9th. And at that time, Ms. Reyes was pregnant. She was very close to giving birth, and she has recently given birth. And so she, in that meantime, since that bond hearing, another case had been filed by the DA's office against her. It was a 2022 cause number. So she's being
and Mr. Anchondo, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I failed to see it. It was on a different page. So both are scheduled for bond hearings today. 2022 0D00844 is also scheduled for today. My apologies. Go ahead.
That's okay, Judge. And so that I'm looking it up. I don't know. I think that one is a $5,000 or that one is a $10,000 bond. And so, and then she has another 10,000 on, excuse me, 15,000 on this one, on the 2021. That's a split bond, 25,000, 10 surety, 15 surety, 10 PR. And so, Judge, she does not have the funds to come up with this. She just given birth. This new case that's been put in against against Ms. Reyes, I've had to, looked at it a little bit here. There's still some evidence that needs to be put. It's a very.
I'm sorry, Mr. Anchondo, I'm not hearing you. There's a little bit of background noise. This new case, that was all I heard.
Okay, well, this new case, Judge, I've been trying to look at it from the DA portal and whatnot, but it's a very interesting case in the fact that, apparently all of the occupants in the vehicle were pulled out, stopped. It was somebody else's car, and the officer didn't arrest anybody. And then all of a sudden, years or months later, they all have possession charges. And so, if they found something in the car at that time, I think everybody knows that and nobody takes blame for it. They're taking everybody in, and that apparently didn't happen at that point. And so now, as she sits in jail on this one, this case pops up. And so, Judge, I'm trying to get at least some type of a deal from the DA's office, but they can't give me a rec because she apparently has this agri-assault that has not even been presented, or I don't know where it is. I can't file a examining trial on it because it doesn't have a P file. I can't do anything on this case, but let her sit in jail. And I think, at this point, Judge, I understand, and I believe Miss Reyes understands the magnitude of what she's going through now, especially having given birth in jail and now being out or being without her child. Judge, we're looking for a PR bond on this, at least until she's able to get the ability to have this aggravated assault case brought up, and then we can get some type of rec or something to Ms. Reyes so that these cases can get concluded.
I'm trying to look in the jailings or anywhere for anything regarding an ag assault. Ms. King, can you tell me a little bit about that and then respond to the remainder? Or did you have some more?
No, Judge.
Go ahead, Ms. King.
Your Honor, for the one that is, I guess, held to test.
I'm gonna have to mute. I'm gonna have to mute downtown. There's just too much background noise. Okay, go ahead, Ms. King.
Your Honor, for the one that's an aggravated assault at family house with a weapon, that case is actually date of offense. I see is the October 13, I believe. And we are waiting, and I have followed up with the agency to see if they're going to present this case. I do see indication from the agency's notes that CPS was actually called out on this as well. So we still don't have the case, but it is out there. As far as the bond, the state does respectfully object to the reduction of bond or PR bond. The quantity of the possession was quite a good amount of possession, and the incident that actually ends in 0844, kind of just the facts of the case was her children was actually living in that home, and the drugs were actually found some on the kitchen counter or the refrigerator. And also the fact that,
oh, go ahead, I'm sorry,
I apologize. And the fact that Ms. Reyes just recently had a child, I feel like that would just have a repeating cycle.
So the
Judge,
new
if I may
case is,
respond.
let me just be clear, make sure I understand this. The new case is not the one where, let's say there's 4 actors and it's the old case, the bigger, the Mandel.
No, Judge. So I wanted, that's what I was going to correct. I believe
Okay.
that the case ending in 0844, which is the 2022, is the incident that I was talking about with regards to the vehicle and the individuals all not being arrested. It's the 2021 that ends in 0716 that is the allegation that there was drugs inside the home, which she shared with her, with the I guess co-defendant, who at some point reached a deal. And so that, Judge, is what we're talking about. She no longer lives with that individual, who, again, we contend is the one that had the drugs in the first place. And, you know, she's not living with him anymore. There is no reason and, you know, I guess, inclination that there would be drugs at her house.
Let me double check. I'm going into the jailing to see some of the documents. Okay, so the 2022 indicted case is actually date of offense October 24th. Is that right, of 2021? And that's the one that involves the vehicle. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Ms. King, would you, anything else? Is the basis, I mean, we get Ms. Reyes, basically she's out on bond. Well, she's been in 73 days. She's out on bond in the 2021 case, and then she picks up the 1 to 4.
No, Judge. So,
Nope.
well, I guess, so the timeline is that she was out on bond on this case, on the 2021 case. There was a court date. She did not check in. She had a KPS issued. She got picked up on that. During the time that she's been in custody, they have then put this 2022 case on.
Right.
And the allegation was that while she was out on bond for the 2021 case, the ag assault was picked up as well. But again, that one I don't know anything of. I can't.
Right. Okay. So, so she's at a split bond on 0716, 15,000 cash surety, 10,000 PR. And that was reduced. I reduced that one in March. She was at 100,000 for failure to appear, failure to report for 4 months, and she never provided good contact info. And then on the new case, I guess per the original bond, it's just 10,000 straight cash surety. So I'll just, for purposes of these two cases and the bonds, I think the bonds are appropriate considering her prior non-compliance, criminal history. But I'll say this, so I'm not going to change the bonds, Mr. Anchondo, on these two cases. But I'm a little concerned. I know that might still, I mean, we have settings. I'm more concerned about, waiting on a rec for because there's an ag assault out there that we don't know about, because it really leaves Mr. Anchondo and Ms. Reyes stuck. If we're waiting, I know because we had the new indictment, our timetable, well, not just because of the new indictment, but because she is also in custody, our timetable has kind of been extended, right? And she's not looking at a jury trial till 2023. But if there is some inclination there to reach an agreement and a plea, I'm not really sure about waiting on an ag assault that we don't even know is going to be presented or what's going to happen. So with respect to the bond hearings, those requests are denied as to both cases. But we have, I guess our arraignment is set for a couple of weeks from now, unless we're getting that ag assault. What's the alleged date of offense on the ag assault? 10/13?
Yes, Your Honor. And I will try to have an answer on the ag assault in a rec by this Wednesday.
Okay. All righty. So we'll look at that, Mr. Anchondo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. May I be excused?
You may.
Thank you.
All right. So I think downtown, if that's all you have, then we're good to go. Thank you very much. Okay, so we can go back to the annex. Mr. Marufu, who's next?
Page 5, towards the bottom, Judge Alvarez.
Go ahead.
In cause number 2021-0D1945, State of Texas versus Rito Alvarez. Announcement of counsel, please.
Roa King for the state of Texas.
I don't see, is Mr. Yanez?
He was here. He's back again. Coming in, Judge.
Mr. Yanez, if you're there, we had just called your case, so if you'll come online, please. Mr. Yanez, are you there?
Yes. ¿Se escucha lo que dice?
All right. If he's not there, we'll go to the next one.
The next one would be the bottom, Barnes. Annex, can we replace Alvarez with Barnes?
Oh, there he is. Mr. Yanez, are you there? There he is. Okay.
Your Honor, this defendant is a Spanish speaker.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Yanez, your client requires an interpreter.
Yes, it does, Your Honor.
Okay.
However, we have settled, or we have come to an agreement in this case, Judge.
Okay, well, I guess for purposes of today's final hearing plea deadline, I think I want to make sure, what's the agreement?
Your Honor, it's going to be 8 years TDC for both counts.
I can interpret for him if you like, Your Honor.
Okay, let's go ahead and call it, please, if you hadn't already, Mr. Marufu.
Cause number 2021-0D01945, State of Texas versus Rito Alvarez. Announcement of counsel, please.
Roa King for the state of Texas.
Luis Yanez on behalf of Mr. Alvarez, Your Honor.
Mr. Alvarez is appearing from the jail annex. We're being told that Mr. Alvarez does require an interpreter, but Mr. Yanez, I will, just for purposes of the final hearing plea deadline, ask you to inquire, I guess, in Spanish, being told by the state and by you that you all have an agreement. How much time was it?
8 years.
8 years, please.
Okay, so if you will just ask him to confirm to me, Mr. Yanez, his agreement to that rec, and if so, then we will have him scheduled for a plea shortly.
Thank you, Your Honor. Señor Álvarez, como se le explicó en la mañana, la juez quiere saber si usted está listo para entrar a darse culpable en este caso. La fiscal nos va a mandar los papeles y van a ser 8 años, ¿ok? Y usted me dijo en la mañana que usted quería proceder con agendar esto para una audiencia de culpabilidad y que lo sentencien, ¿correcto?
¿Es correcto, señor?
Sí, sí.
Ok, el proceso va a ser esto. O sea, si no se los ha enseñado, va a haber papeles de acuerdo con su decisión de declararse culpable en este caso. Mr. Yanez, I am going to schedule him for a reset of the final hearing plea deadline, which is set for today for 2 weeks, okay? Anticipate that will end up turning into a plea, assuming we have all the plea paperwork. So, señor Álvarez, vamos a continuar su audiencia de hoy para en 2 semanas a la misma hora, a las 3 de la tarde. Si es que la corte recibe los documentos necesarios para su declaración de culpabilidad, seguimos con ese proceso. Si no, estamos aquí otra vez a ver qué está pasando. Okay, so we'll do a final hearing plea deadline in 2 weeks.
Yes, Your Honor. Just so the court is informed, Ms. Roa King is going to send me the papers later today. I have told my client that I will go see him tomorrow to get those papers squared away, and I'll return them to the court right after I get them signed, Judge.
Okay, thank you very much. And so, señor Álvarez, si tiene alguna pregunta, está en contacto con su abogado y aquí tenemos otra audiencia en 2 semanas. ¿Está de acuerdo?
Sí, sí.
Okay, all right. He is in agreement, and we will see you all in 2 weeks at a reset of the final hearing plea deadline, anticipating a plea. Thank you, Mr. Yanez.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
At the bottom of the page, Judge Barnes, in cause number 2020-0D0-5216, State of Texas versus Crystal Barnes. Announcement of counsel, please.
Roa King for the state of Texas.
Barnes. Just coming right on.
I thought I saw another entry for Ms. Caballero. Is she? Am I missing something? I see Ms. Lerma. Let me see. I don't see Ms. Caballero. Is she logging on?
She was there already, Judge.
You just see her office, Judge.
I know, I do too, but I don't see Ms. Caballero. So let's go to the next one.
Top of page 6, Judge.
Go ahead.
In cause number 2022-0D0-0506, State of Texas versus Corey Sean Green. Announcement of counsel, please.
Roa King for the state of Texas.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Rafael Salas for Corey Sean Green. Ready, Your Honor?
Good afternoon, Mr. Salas. Let me just get your client, okay?
Okay.
Hi, Judge. Good afternoon. It's Judge, and the Public Defender's Office also represents Mr. Green on another case. It's a robbery case, and it's not on the docket today, but it's my understanding that once he pleads with Mr. Salas, our case will be dismissed. So Mr. Green was concerned about that, and he just wanted to make sure that I was here on his behalf for that.
Okay, sounds good. And
Thank you.
so let's go ahead. Thank you, Ms. Pages. So we're only handling the case for which Mr. Salas represents you, Mr. Green, okay?
And what, Your Honor, is that robbery still gonna be dismissed?
It's my understanding that that is part of the plea agreement in this case.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
all righty. Okay, so if we're ready to get started, Mr. Green, I'm going to be asking you questions about your plea in this case, the possession case. So I need to swear you in. Would you please raise your right hand? Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. You can put your hand down. Would you state your name for the record and your date of birth?
Corey Sean Green, date of birth, January 12th, 1991.
Thank you, Mr. Green. As I mentioned, I'm going to ask you about documents you may have reviewed with your attorney, the first of which is marked as State's Exhibit Number 1. Those are the plea papers in this case. Within that document, you're guaranteed certain rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to trial by jury, the right to counsel, the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, and the right to call witnesses on your behalf and in your defense. Mr. Green, do you recall reviewing State's Exhibit Number 1 with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Did you understand everything contained within the document?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Mr. Salas, have you had more than 10 days to prepare a defense in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you explain the plea papers to your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you believe he's understood the admonishments, rights, and consequences of giving up these rights by entering a plea today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Green, are you satisfied with your attorney's representation of you?
Yes, Your Honor. They have done what they asked me, I asked them to do, and they were always there. And I just felt like that I was the one bugging them instead of them coming to me, you know what I mean? So that they were really good about coming towards me and giving me the right information.
Sounds like a 5-star review, Mr. Salas.
I guess so. I guess so.
Mr. Green, I appreciate your comments. Let me ask Mr. Salas, do you have any reason to believe your client is not presently competent to enter his plea?
No, Your Honor. I believe he's competent.
Mr. Green, have you ever been found incompetent by any court?
No, ma'am.
Ever been examined by a doctor or psychiatrist who has found you mentally ill?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so based on your testimony, your attorney's representations, and my observations of you, I'm going to find that you are competent to enter your plea today. Sir, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you born?
I was born in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay. So the charge against you in this case is possession of a controlled substance in penalty group 1 in an amount less than 1 gram. Sir, to that charge, what is your plea, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, ma'am.
Are you making your plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
I will find you are making your plea freely and voluntarily. Ms. King, would you summarize the evidence, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Were the state to proceed to trial on the indictment, the state would have proven each and every element the offense charge of possession of controlled substance in penalty group 1 in an amount less than 1 gram beyond a reasonable doubt. Judge, the defendant is pleading to a 6-month state jail with any and all credit for time served, and the state will dismiss cause number 2022-0D0004 and other terms and conditions stated on the state's plea paperwork. And at this time, the state moves to admit Exhibit 1 is the state's plea paperwork, Exhibit 2, Article 3914 disclosures, and Exhibit 3 is the indictment.
Mr.
No
Salas?
objection.
Okay, no objection. Oh, let me see. I did not see that reflected. Can someone double check the plea paperwork for me? Is it a 1244A plea?
Your Honor, yes, one mistake. It is a 1244A for 6 months.
6 months, El Paso, right? El Paso.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Nieto. Okay, with that, Mr. Salas, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and with respect to, I believe you said no objection to states 1, 2, and 3, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
So those will be admitted. Mr. Green, is that your understanding of the plea agreement as well?
The plea agreement, yes, ma'am, Your Honor. I just need to know, is the robbery gonna be dropped as far as being on the same paperwork, or is that a different, totally understanding? Do I gotta wait for court for that, or what's gonna happen?
So my understanding is the cause number that was stated by the prosecutor in the plea agreement is it a robbery, Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor, and actually it's in the process of getting sent to you for your signature.
Right. So what happens, Mr. Green, when we have agreements like this, as soon as you do your plea on this case and the agreement is to dismiss the other case, they email me that dismissal and I sign off on it. As far as I understand Ms. King's representation, it is going to be dismissed. And so my question to you is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, Your Honor, yes.
Okay. Understand that the plea agreement is not binding on the court. However, if I were to reject it, I would allow you to withdraw your plea. If I follow the plea agreement, you may not appeal this case except on matters raised by written motion and ruled on before trial or by permission of the court. The next document I'm going to ask you about is the one-page document entitled the Trial Court Certification of Your Right to Appeal. That is a document that explains your appeal rights. Because this is a plea bargained or negotiated case, you do not have an automatic right of appeal. Mr. Green, do you recall reviewing the trial court certification with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Okay. Signed by your attorney and signed by me as well. So on your plea of guilty and the evidence introduced, I will accept your plea and at this time find the evidence substantiates your guilt. I will find you guilty of the offense of possession of a controlled substance in penalty group 1 in an amount less than 1 gram, and I will sentence you according to the plea agreement and in accordance with 1244A of the Texas Penal Code to 6 months confinement in the El Paso County Detention Facility. You will receive credit for any and all time that you have served. I also will sign a dismissal of cause number 2022-0D00004, which is, I'm looking at it now, the referenced robbery that you were inquiring about. So I'm signing off on that. I do have some notations regarding dismissals on some misdemeanor cases, 2021 0C02187 and 2021 0C02190. Those, Mr. Green, will go to the appropriate misdemeanor court judge for signature and dismissal as part of the agreement as well. Is there anything further, Mr. Salas or Ms. King?
Your Honor, just for the record, the misdemeanors were actually already dismissed on April 7th, 2022.
Okay, I thought I saw those on the plea papers. So that should wrap up everything, correct?
Correct.
All righty. Anything further, Ms. King or Mr. Salas?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Good luck to you, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. God bless you, Mr. Salas.
Thank you. May I be excused, Your Honor?
Vaya con Dios, Mr. Salas.
Oh, hey, bilingual.
Thanks so
Okay,
much.
thank you, Your Honor.
Take care.
Have a
Who's
good evening.
next? Do we have, did Mr. Caballero? Ms. Caballero come back? I thought I saw someone click in, or is she gone? There's a lot of movement today. No, I don't see her. Okay, so who's next?
Your Honor,
Ande.
this is Ms. Caballero's office.
Mhm.
Okay, Ms. Caballero is unavailable right now. She had a trial in the 243rd.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I didn't know they were.
But this is set for a probation status hearing, and she was respectfully requesting access to the DA portal so she could review it. And she also filed a psych evaluation for this client.
Let me go over there and look. So I don't want to speak for the DA's office, but I think when it comes to the probation cases, sometimes they don't get portal access, but I'll let, I don't, and I also don't see the psych eval on Miss Barnes, the request. Was that filed?
She filed it earlier this morning before trial.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the probation status hearing, unless you think she's going to come on.
No, I don't believe so.
I'm going to reset the probation status hearing for 1 week. I think I've reviewed it and I have some notes probably in line with the concerns that she has. So if I see that motion, then we'll make the appropriate referral. I wanted to inquire though, Ms. Nieto, can you tell me the full amount of time? I thought I showed her at about 120 days credit.
Yes, Your Honor, I'll look that up. I did want to let you know about the motion though. It was filed this morning and I did accept it, but there is IT is already aware. There's a huge delay on it getting processed and being put into Odyssey, but it was accepted. I did see it this morning.
Okay, so we'll look for that. What did I say, 2 weeks? Yes, I'm gonna still reset it for 2 weeks. As soon as I see that motion, then we'll go from there, okay? But I know my notes reflect probably some of the same concerns. I reviewed the case. ultimately, where's Carla? Carla, did we have any, I don't recall what the recommendation was. Was it BHRTC or was it something else? My thought was when I looked at this was, let's just revoke her to time and.
Yes, Your Honor, that is what probation is recommending.
Okay. Okay.
BHRTC. But yeah, she was placed on probation a year ago, more or less, and she really didn't do anything.
Okay. Well, I'll go look for that motion. Let me see, what is that? Total time is 116 days. Okay. Alrighty, thanks so much. So we'll reset Ms. Barnes. Okay, who's next?
Second on page 7, Rubalcaba, Judge.
Okay.
In cause number 2018-0D03021, State of Texas versus Javier Adrian Rubalcaba. Announcement of council, please.
Roa King for the state of Texas.
On behalf of Mr. Rubalcaba, ready to proceed, Your Honor.
And is that Mr. Rubalcaba? Yes?
It is.
Okay. Let me go over here. We're set for a status today. Let me see. There he is. Okay. We were reset from the beginning of April. We had a revel back in March. What are we doing with Mr. Rubalcaba? Were we still up in the air on this one? Or just we come up with a number?
Well, Your Honor, we did receive a recommendation of 4 TDC. There was some belief there that that's the only number maybe that the court would accept. So I was here to try and maybe convince Your Honor, if you would consider, and the prosecutor as well, to consider a 3 TDC. And if so, we may be able to move this along.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Ms. King, talk to me about that.
Your Honor, the state is okay with 3 TDC. I believe in the last hearing, we were kind of going back and forth. I know that probation recommended BHRTC, but I believe we are at the time rec. So,
well, that sounds to me like we have an agreement. 3 TDC. Okay. Does your client?
Very good.
Does your client speak English, Mr. Lozano, or is he, Mr. Rubalcaba? Are you understanding everything that we're saying? Okay, he's muted. Can you?
Muted.
Okay. So with that being said, I am going to again reset this one for 2 weeks. If we have a true agreement, paperwork signed up, anticipate that turning into a plea of true, and we'll go forward from there. Alrighty?
If I could just get some tips and waivers, Ms. King.
I will send that to you.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, Mr. Rubalcaba.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Bottom of page 8, Judge.
Okay.
In cause number 2018-0D01606, State of Texas versus Susana Victoriano. Announcement of council, please.
Roa King for the state of Texas.
Cesar Lozano on behalf of Susana Victoriano, ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Okay, let's wait for the defendant. Ms. Victorino, is that you?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Alrighty. And Ms. Victorino is appearing from the jail annex. We are scheduled for actually it's a plea of true. And let me see. Okay, yeah, she was on for 5 years on the start. Okay, alrighty, let's go ahead and get started. Ms. Victorino, I'm going to be asking you some questions. So I need to swear you in. Would you please raise your right hand? Ma'am, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth? Thank you very much. I may need you to speak up just a little bit, okay? I'm having a little trouble hearing today. Ma'am, are you the same individual who well, actually state your name and date of birth for the record, please.
Susana Victorino, April 2nd, 1977.
Ma'am, are you the same individual who on October 9th, 2018, was found guilty and in fact entered a plea of guilty to the offense of driving while intoxicated, third or more offense, and was sentenced to 5 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, suspended for 5 years of community supervision? Are you that same person?
Yes.
And Mr. Lozano, are you waiving reading on the motion to revoke? I'm sorry?
We will waive.
Okay, thank you. I don't know what's going on. I'm having some real trouble with the audio today. Okay, so Ms. Victorino, there were documents marked as States Exhibits 1, 2, and 3, the stipulations and waiver with respect to this case. Did you review those documents with your attorney and sign them?
Yes.
And did you understand everything contained within those documents?
Yes.
Mr. Lozano, did you or another attorney within your firm explain the documents to your client and the consequences of signing those documents?
We did, Your Honor.
Ms. Victorino, after having reviewed those and discussed those with your attorneys, are you knowingly and voluntarily waiving the rights explained in the documents that you signed?
Yes.
No one's forcing you to do it, Ms.
No.
Victorino? Okay. You understand by signing these documents, you're giving up certain constitutional rights?
Yes.
And you're making a judicial confession. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You understand that on your plea of true and all reasonable probability, I will find the allegations in the state's motion to be true, and I will find you, and I will then revoke your probation. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
With respect to the motion to revoke, do you wish to enter a plea of true or not true?
Yes, please. True.
Okay. I will find that you are making your plea of true freely and voluntarily. What is the agreement in this case, Ms. King?
Your Honor, is going to be 2 years at TDC.
And Ms. Victorino, is that your understanding of the agreement?
Yes.
I will accept at this time the agreement to revoke your probation to for 2 years confinement. Ms. King, are you asking to admit states 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, Your Honor.
No objection, Mr. Lozano?
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, those will be admitted. The court will take judicial notice of all documents in the district clerk's file in this case. Based on the evidence presented here today and on your plea of true, I will find that there is sufficient evidence to support the allegations in the state's motion. After you've already been found guilty, I will now revoke your community supervision in this case, and you will now, the sentence in this case will now be amended to 2 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division. You will receive credit for any and all time that you have served on this case, ma'am. Is there anything further, Ms. King or Mr. Lozano?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
May I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
How much time do I already have then?
Ms. Nieto, let me inquire with the clerk, Ms. Victorino.
Please, thank you.
I'm showing 106 days.
106 days credit, ma'am. Okay.
Okay.
All righty. Good luck to you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Lozano.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir. All right. Who's next?
On page 7, Judge Cigales,
Okay, let's do that one.
in cause number 2019-0D01599 and 2020-0D00048 and 2020-0D00784 and 2021-0D01702 State of Texas versus Andre Cigales. Announcement of council, please.
Barbara King for the state of Texas.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Leonard Morales on behalf of Mr. Cigales.
Ricky Reyes, adult probation, Your Honor.
And Mr. Cigales is appearing from the jail annex. In all but one of these cases, there are probation matters that I think we're resolving outside of the plea, but we do have one case set for a plea, and that is cause number 2021-0D01702, Mr. Cigales. So for your plea, I need to swear you in because I'm going to be asking you some questions, okay? Raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
I swear.
Thank you very much. You can put your hand down. Please state your name for the record and your date of birth.
Andre Cigales, June 27, 1998.
All right, as I mentioned, we're scheduled for a plea today. I'm going to ask you questions about documents you may have reviewed with your attorney. The first is marked State's Exhibit number 1. Those are the plea papers in this case. Within that document, you're guaranteed certain rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to trial by jury, the right to counsel, the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, and the right to call witnesses on your behalf and in your defense. Mr. Cigales, do you recall reviewing State's Exhibit number 1 with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you understand everything contained within that document?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Morales, have you had more than 10 days to prepare a defense in this case?
We have, Your Honor.
Did you explain the plea papers to your client?
I did, Your Honor.
Do you believe he has understood the admonishments, rights, and consequences of giving up these rights by entering his plea today?
I do believe so, Your Honor. We were able to discuss those papers and answer any questions that Mr. Cigales had, and he appeared to answer or sign the documents voluntarily.
And just so I'm remembering correctly, Mr. Morales, didn't you also represent him on the other probation cases?
I did, Your Honor. I represented him back then as well. Yes, okay. So I'm very familiar with Mr. Cigales' cases.
Oh, well, and the court appreciates your service, kind of sticking with it through these cases. So thank you very much. Mr. Cigales, are you satisfied with your attorney's representation of you?
Yes, Your Honor. I am very satisfied.
Mr. Morales, do you have any reason to believe your client is not presently competent?
None whatsoever, Judge.
Mr. Cigales, have you ever been found incompetent by any court?
No, Your Honor, never.
Ever been examined by a doctor or psychiatrist who has found you mentally ill?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, based on your testimony, your attorney's representations, and my observations of you, I'm going to find that you are competent to enter your plea today. Sir, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where were you born?
El Paso, Texas.
Okay. So by indictment in this case, you were charged with an offense of failing to register. To that charge, sir, a state jail felony. What is your plea, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Are you making your plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll find you are making your plea freely and voluntarily. Ms. King, would you summarize the evidence?
Yes, Your Honor. Were the state to proceed to trial on the indictment, the state would have proven each and every element the offense charged of failure to comply sex offender duty to register of 10 years beyond a reasonable doubt. Judge, the defendant is pleading to a 2 years confinement probated for 2 years of adult straight probation and other terms and conditions stated on the state's plea paperwork. And at this time, the state moves to admit Exhibit 1 is state's plea paperwork, Exhibit 2, Article 3914 disclosures, and Exhibit 3 is the indictment.
Any objection?
Objection, Judge.
Without objections, states 1, 2, and 3 are admitted. Is that your understanding of the plea agreement, Mr. Morales?
It is, Your Honor.
And Mr. Cigales, is that your understanding of the plea agreement as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Understand that the plea agreement is not binding on the court. However, if I were to reject it, I would allow you to withdraw your plea. If I follow the plea agreement, you may not appeal this case except on matters raised by written motion and ruled on before trial or by permission of the court. The next document I'm going to ask you about is a one-page document entitled The Trial Court Certification of Your Right to Appeal. It is a document that explains your appeal rights. Because this is a plea bargained or negotiated case, you do not have an automatic appeal. Mr. Cigales, do you recall reviewing the trial court certification with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, Your Honor.
Signed by your attorney and signed by me as well. So on your plea of guilty and the evidence introduced, I will accept your plea and at this time find the evidence substantiates your guilt. I will find you guilty of the indicted offense and I will sentence you according to the plea agreement to 2 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice State Jail Facility. That will be suspended for a period of 2 years of community supervision. There will be a $3,000 fine. However, you're appointed, Mr. Morales, so your client continues to be indigent, correct? So I'm
yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
I'm going to probate the entirety of the fine. What that means, Mr. Cigales, is you will not owe the fine unless you are non-compliant on your probation, in which case they can come back and collect the entire fine. There's 200 hours of community service. Let me see. Screen for TAP, curfew, court costs, you're subject to urine and breath analysis. It's going to run, this probation is going to run concurrent with each of the other cases for which you are on probation, cause numbers ending 1599, 0048, 0784. Yes, they will run concurrent with those cases. And then on those remaining cases, we're just going to continue with the supervision. I don't recall, Ms. Reyes, if there were any modifications that we were doing, but I don't recall. I just remember we were going to go straight with probation. He was already on. Is that right?
Yes, we were just requesting that it's going to be weekly reporting, but you didn't want any modifications on that, just weekly reporting for the first 90 days. Also requesting a status hearing after 45.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. So the only thing, you're just gonna have to make sure you do that reporting and are diligent with that, Mr. Cigales. Anything further, Ms. King or Mr. Morales?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Not at this time, Your Honor. No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good luck to you, Mr. Cigales. Thank you, Ms. Reyes, as well.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, may I say something on the record real quick?
Sure.
Okay, just Mr. Cigales needs to come to the Vinton office as soon as he's released.
Mr. Cigales, are you there?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry about that.
Okay, so Ms. Reyes has indicated, what was that? He has to go to the Vinton office to report?
Yes, by 12 o'clock tomorrow, Mr. Cigales, over here in Vinton. Do you need the address again?
No, Your Honor, I know where it's at.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know how soon they'll process you out of there. So make sure you do that. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Reyes. All right. Thank you, Mr. Morales. Thank you, Mr. Morales. Do you have anyone else?
I don't think so, Judge. I think that's all I have with you this afternoon.
Gracias. We'll see you. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I be excused, Judge?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Who's next?
Bias, page 8, Judge.
Okay.
In cause number 2019-0D04292, State of Texas versus Daniel Bias. Announcement of council, please.
King for the state of Texas.
Hi, Judge Veronica Lerma on behalf of Mr. Valles. Mr. Lerma was not able to join us. He had another hearing, Judge.
Okay. And Mr. Valles is now present, appearing remotely from the jail annex. We're scheduled today for a status conference. I don't recall, let me just double check. I don't recall seeing anything with respect to the Daubert hearing. I don't see anything filed. I don't see anything on the hearing that was last conducted in the court. So what's the update, ladies?
Judge, we were able to meet and review the issue regarding the photographs. We didn't file anything because I think the court received all the testimony it would have received. We didn't have to follow up or supplement anything based on our meeting at the medical examiners on, I think sometime last week we did it, Wednesday.
Okay, and so were there any objections? I'm thinking his name is Mr. Flores. The two experts were the medical examiner, her name escapes me right now. And then was it Mr. Flores was the photographer?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, so what is the defense? Is there an objection to the court's commission of them as experts?
Just based on what I'm sorry, Judge, not on the photographer, but on Dr. Diaz on her specificity and her expertise. The court received that testimony.
Okay, and so without there obviously being an objection, then Mr. Flores will be allowed to testify based on everything that I heard in the hearing. I'll also overrule the objection as to Dr. Diaz. The court does find that there was sufficient information to qualify her as such. And so I didn't know, Ms. Lerma, if you were filing something in addition to her. I may have been confused on that. But I will have orders on both of those experts. Was there anything else outstanding from the in-person hearing? I thought you all were in agreement regarding a motion in limine, but I'm not seeing anything else being filed that requires a hearing. Do you all have anything else? Because if not, then I'm ready for us to get our trial scheduled.
We don't have anything that requires a hearing.
Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to ask kind of the $1 million question. Have you all talked about a potential trial date?
Not really.
Okay.
Like an actual date? No.
Vaguely, Your Honor, whenever we were in person at the last hearing, we were just thinking maybe mid-June or the first week of July. But we didn't come up with a actual date.
Okay. So let me see if I have not been able to access the master calendar for some reason. Mr. Marufo, can you look at the master calendar? And then do we have any panels? What are you all thinking? This is what I'm operating with in terms of our panels. We can do panels of up to 60 in the courtroom, or we can attempt to reserve a commissioner's court, which, you know, each has its drawback, right? Because if we have smaller panels, then we have to look at bringing in more people and doing them in pieces, or we can try and get commissioner's court for who do I keep hearing? For 100 generally per panel, I'm saying, hopefully, fingers crossed. So do you all have a preference? Because I think we have some flexibility in making those requests. Obviously, requesting the panels in the courtroom is much easier because it's our space.
Your Honor, I'll defer to whatever's easy with the court.
Ms. Thurman, do you have a preference?
Yes, Judge, I would prefer that we have the courtroom. It's just easier with our equipment in the courtroom itself.
It does make it easier for us in terms of scheduling. So let me see if I can see this master calendar. And then Myrna, I'm going to ask you to chime in here with, okay, here's one. With any cases that you know are, yeah, well, we're not going to need that. With any cases that you know are specially set in June. The days I'm thinking of in June would be June 10th. Well, we could do June 10th, 17, or 24. Those are all Fridays. But I'm thinking, how many panels do you think we'll need? Because we're getting anywhere between like 55 to 60 per panel. Can we do it with 3, or will we need more?
Judge, just to let the court know, I do have a vacation certificate that was filed, and it goes from the 10th through the 17th. So I wouldn't be available until the 24th.
Okay, so then that might be really the only day. So that makes it a lot easier, Ms. Lerma, because I can go to the 24th, and you know what?
There's only one trial sitting, and it's a civil case.
So that's our date. So then let me go back. Do we need more than 2 panels?
I believe so, Judge.
Okay, so that means we have to start on the 23rd. So yeah, jury trial will start on the 23rd. Mr. Marufo, we need to request for the June 23rd, 2 panels, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon.
Okay, Judge.
And then I'm going to say 2 panels for the 24th as well. How I anticipate then we will go is we'll just start on Thursday, and we'll have 4 panels. Hopefully, if we get them done if we can get a jury out of the 2 panels on Thursday. Again, I'll ask for your preference. I would just as soon start evidence on Friday, but I know that entails a little uncertainty. So it's not going to give me a lot of heartburn if we just start on Monday, but I'll ask you all.
I'd prefer to do it that way, Judge, is just start the evidence on Monday if possible.
Monday? Okay, we'll do it like that. Also, think about alternates, how many you want, things like that, but we can square those away. We'll get you the panels though, and we'll do it in the courtroom. It makes it a lot easier for us in terms of scheduling. Anything that requires a hearing, I'm really not going to bring you in before the final hearing plea deadline. And that's basically just my marker of June 21st. So we'll do the June 21st final hearing plea deadline. I know, I don't know if there's a rec out there or not. For me, it's just a check-in with you all as we look forward to jury selection. As we get those jury sheets, we'll send them out.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. I know we've, it's been a little bumpy, but maybe fingers crossed we've got our date. So let us know if you need a hearing on anything. Other than that, if you all don't have anything further, we are adjourned on Mr. Bias's case.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Take care, Ms. Lerma. Oh, and happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you, Mr. Bias. Who's next? And Myrna, on that one, that has to be a special setting, so I don't forget it's there.
Yes,
Not that I
ma'am.
would forget it's there, but that's good. That's good. Oh, we
On
have
page 6,
a
Judge?
nice open window. Mhm.
On page 6, Lewis.
Who is that?
Lewis on page 6.
Okay, go ahead.
Because number 2015 0D00151, State of Texas versus Victor Lewis. Announcement of council, please.
Roa King for the state of Texas.
Myrna Pages for Mr. Victor Lewis. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Oh, bear with me one second.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Hello, Mr. Lewis. Hang tight, please. Alrighty. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to keep track of emails. Alrighty. Mr. Lewis, we are set for a pre-revocation hearing. Carla, I am offhand not remembering his case summary. So tell me a little bit about Mr. Lewis, and then I'll ask Ms. Pages and Ms. King.
Your Honor, Mr. Lewis was placed on probation back on April 30th, 2015. He had the 5 years deferred. Therefore, his case has expired as of 4/29/2020. He reported the beginning year of being placed on probation. In 2016, he was modified and transferred to Illinois, where this became an interstate compact case. Throughout 2016 through 2018, there were violation reports received from Illinois where there's violations of him not reporting, there's positive drug test and alcohol testing. He was referred to treatment and he never engaged and participated in any treatment. MTR was filed here with us 6/26/2019. And we are left, Judge, unfortunately, due to the case expiring in 2020, we can only revoke on this case or dismiss of the MTA.
No.
Let me ask, do we have any in the time that, you know, he goes MIA and until now, do we have any rearrests,
Go through the paperwork.
new offenses?
So
Already.
there is, I'm just kind of trying to follow along what it's saying. It says 8/8/2021, the court's NCIC warrant, new charges in Aurora County, Illinois, was executed in Illinois and booked in El Paso, Texas on 4/12/2022. On an August 8, 2021, new charge of possession of cannabis, 30 to 500 grams, and manufactured delivery cannabis, 30 to 500 grams. He was convicted earlier, 202 days credit as of 2/24/22. So I'm thinking from there, judges, when he was extradited to El Paso on our warrant.
So what's the rec, Ms. King? Sorry, Ms. Pages. Well, I'll still listen, but do we have a number?
Your Honor, my system is still loading. I apologize.
What's the criminal history like overall? Like, okay, so back in 2015, we had an evading, we have our drug cases, old evading, old theft, and then this is probably the same one, 2014, another drug case. All right, Ms. Pages, not huge, but tell me about Mr. Lewis.
Your Honor, so I just signed up for a pre-revocation hearing, primarily to obtain a rec from Ms. King. I did email her earlier today. I was not aware that his probation has expired, so we are asking for the minimum, which is 2 years TDC. He does have family in Illinois. He would like to resolve this case and get this squared away so that he can go back home to where he's from. He does not have anybody here, I believe, here in El Paso. He did indicate to me that he was willing to or able to come up with money for the fines, but I do believe since he has expired April 29th of 2020, I think that is moot. So we are at this point asking for a minimum of 2 years if the court would consider that, and as well as Ms. King.
Ms. King?
Your Honor, I believe I was about to reply. It was going to be a 3 TDC.
Okay. All right, do we have a future setting? Really, I'm good with 2 TDC. If we have papers, let's just sign them up. I don't see any future settings. We can reset a probation status hearing for 2 weeks at the 3 p.m. slot, anticipating that we will have a plea of true.
Sounds good, Judge. If Ms. King is okay with the 2, then we can work on that as soon as possible.
Okay.
I
2 weeks.
Some papers.
Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. We'll see you in 2 weeks. All right, who's next?
Thank you, Judge.
What about page 6, Judge Ortega? Because number 2019-0D03894, State of Texas versus Andrew Ortega, announcement of counsel, please.
Roma King for the State of Texas.
Derek Quinata on behalf of Andrew Ortega, Your Honor. We're, if I may.
No, hold on, we don't have your client yet.
Oh, yeah.
Annex, do we have Mr. Ortega? Okay. Mr. Ortega, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Mr. Ortega is appearing from the jail annex. Mr. Quinata?
Judge, we are also here at the annex with his stiff paperwork, and apparently we can't get to him.
Well, yeah, because you were supposed to do that like a month ago.
I know it, Judge. I know it. And I'll tell you this, if it's not Mr. Huerta being in the hospital, or this morning I was set for a first-degree jury trial in the 120th. But we're here, Judge, and we've been here for the past hour and a half, maybe, waiting. And I'm not sure we're at the court's discretion, Your Honor. Whatever the court would want to do. I'm not sure we can maybe do it orally, and then after the hearing, we'll just wait for them to take them back up and get them to sign it. I mean, I think if that would work for the court.
It's always last minute with you. Always last minute. You're always running to the jail. You're always trying to run back, and this is not new. So for the benefit of your client, I guess, I'm going to reset him for 1 week.
Fantastic, Judge.
But you just keep doing this. I mean, this happens over and over again that you're not timely.
Well, Judge,
I don't want to hear it. It's always the same thing. We're going to reset you for 1 week,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Ortega. Your attorney is apparently there. I hope you all are able to meet. We'll come back in 1 week.
Thank you, Judge.
Who's
Maybe
next?
excuse, Your Honor.
Yes, who's next?
Judge, I believe that I called the Mr. Uraga's office, and they stated that Mr. Uraga was out of the office today. And they
Let's
had
get off of YouTube, please.